Today's episode of Voiced is from r/pro revenge and is about two users who got revenge on their family members for being disrespectful. What do you think happened next? Subscribe if you enjoy.
This happened several years ago. I was working for a small medical supply company as the IT manager. Business was bad, and eventually the IT department had to downsize to just me. During this time, they brought in a new chief financial officer that I had to report directly to. Let's call her Pam. Pam had zero knowledge of IT and how things worked. Her motto was, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. PC server life cycles didn't exist. We don't have to pay for licensing to keep our firewall updated. It's working just fine now. I went from having an annual budget to a wish list, which she would deny everything I asked for. The couple that owned the company were real jerks too. One time, we had a quarterly meeting, and people were asking about how secure their jobs were. The owners said that nobody was getting laid off and that our jobs were all secure. This was at 5 p.m. on a Wednesday. The very next morning at 9, they laid off 6 people. At noon, one of the owners showed up to show off the Escalade that he had just purchased that morning. During the first 6 months that Pam was there, she started firing everyone who worked for the old chief financial officer, CFO, and replaced them with her friends and family. 3 of her bridesmaids from her wedding a few years prior got hired to replace those that she fired. I knew I was on borrowed time. After she had been there for 9 months, I was the only one left out of what was about a dozen people that worked for the old CFO. I knew my time was running out. I had been looking for work, but the 2009 crash just happened, and the job market in my area went south quickly. Sure enough, she called me into HR and blindsided me with an entirely trumped-up charge that she claimed happened the day before. I was working with the vice president of sales on a project that entire day, so I had a witness. I asked to bring him in since my boss was lying and was told, this is not about him, this is about you. Remember, kids, HR is there to protect the business, not do what is right or legal in some cases. Needless to say, I knew my days were numbered. The next morning, I was introduced to an IT expert who just happened to be Pam's 21-year-old nephew. He was to shadow me and evaluate everything that I did to see if we could streamline any processes. In other words, they wanted me to train him to do my job. I quickly learned that this kid had absolutely no knowledge of IT. He's the kind of person people think is an IT expert because he can hook up a PlayStation to a TV. He didn't even know how to join a PC to a domain. So I knew what had to be done. The inventory, billing, shipping, and receiving were all run by scripts that I created on the server. They were all run using the domain admin account. I raised quite a fuss about giving him the domain admin account in front of Pam and him. I then loudly proclaimed that I was going to change the password to it, since you can't have people who don't work for the company to have admin access to our network. I was overruled and told to give it to him. I complied, but also showed him multiple times how to change passwords on the domain. I even had him write it down to make sure that he could do it. I really stressed the importance of changing the admin password and deleting his local account the second he is no longer consulting with us to him. I showed him a few things, but nothing in regards to what really made the company run that day. There wasn't enough time in a year to bring this kid up to speed on how to run that place due to his complete ignorance of information technology. I come into work the next day, and sure enough, I was let go because her nephew had found my skills lacking in many areas. I collected my last paycheck and headed home. The next morning, I got a call from the chief financial officer, CFO, and owners. Apparently, her nephew wasn't quite up to speed on everything we did there, and she was graciously offering to pay me my regular salary to come in as a consultant and get her nephew up to speed on the IT infrastructure. I told her that I was now an independent contractor, and if she wanted my services, I was going to charge her $200 per hour with a 250-hour minimum. At that point, she told me that she was going to call the police and have me arrested for what I did if I didn't come in and fix everything. My response was, just so we're clear, you fired me, replaced me with a completely unqualified idiot, and now you're threatening to call the cops on me if I don't come in and fix what he did? I'll hold. Please call the police and let me know what they said. She started swearing at me and hung up the phone. Turns out her nephew did actually learn something from me. He changed the admin password after I had left, the one that ran all the scripts for inventory, billing, shipping, and ordering. According to some of my coworkers, the place was dead in the water for several days until they could get a real consultant in to go through the documentation that I had created and fix the issue. The nephew was immediately fired, and Pam was gone within a month. Don't try to replace me with your idiot nephew who isn't smart enough to avoid bringing your entire business to a screeching halt.
Wow, that was quite the tale of corporate chaos and nepotism gone wrong. It's amazing how quickly things can unravel when the wrong person is in charge. But let's not dwell on the past for too long, because sometimes family drama can be just as intense. Next up, we have a story that takes us from the boardroom to the bedroom, or rather, the nursery. This time, it's not about corporate politics, but about family dynamics and boundaries.
My mom turned her guest room into a nursery after I told her she would never meet my child. I am currently pregnant with my first child, and both my mom and stepdad have been terrible to me and my partner the entire time. They told us we would be unfit parents because we aren't married yet, legitimately screamed at my partner for knocking up their little girl, even though we planned the pregnancy. They would call him every day and harass him, showing up to his work. They tried to convince him to leave me so I would have no choice but to move back in with them. It got worse as time went on. I finally decided to cut contact with them. Having a child can already be a stressful time, and having them around to make it worse was not something I was okay with. My partner and I have gone through a lot with family drama over the past couple years, and having this baby has been one of the most exciting things for us. If my parents can't be nice to my partner, then they don't get to see our baby. Plus, they are the kind of people who don't wear masks in public and actively choose to be in large gatherings with no social distancing, so them seeing a newborn is out of the question. One day, I sent my mom a very detailed email explaining why she is not allowed to be a part of my life anymore and will not be seeing her grandchild. To make things even better, I also noted that we will be moving across the country shortly after she is born to be closer to other family members. So not only is she cut off, but we are literally moving far away and will never be coming back. She responds by showing up at our house at 11 p.m., screaming outside our door about how it is her baby, and she deserves to be there for it. I tell her to go away, and eventually she leaves. Months go by, and she will text me randomly asking about technical problems with her Wi-Fi router or something and needs help. Little things like that don't mean much to me, and I sent her the information she needed. My cousin also had a virtual baby shower and sent my invitation to my mom's house accidentally, so my mom came by to give it to me. Things slowly came to a point that we were fairly amicable with each other, but I still stood my ground about our boundaries, and nothing else had changed. She knew this. Then she sends me a video today that blew my mind. She redecorated her entire guest room to be a nursery. Crib, changing table, $400 worth of newborn clothes, toy chest, stroller, a car seat for her car, and the list goes on. In the video, she is in tears saying, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe my baby is going to be here soon. This is where she will sleep, where I will change her little diapers. These will be her toys." Is she psychotic? Her baby? Sleeping and living at her house? What? So I called her up immediately and reiterated that we are still moving across the country soon and that she will have no contact with the baby before that. Her response? "Oh, okay, we will see about that." Genuinely confused. What part of "you will have no contact with this baby" does she not understand or think will change in the next few weeks when she is born? Is she planning on stealing her from us? I am at a loss for words. Wow, so many great responses from you all. Thank you for the advice. I showed my partner the comments I have been getting, and I think we are starting to take this more seriously and will be contacting a lawyer on Monday. I have been seeing a psychotherapist for the past few months, strictly due to the relationship I have had with my mother throughout my life, and all of that is documented. My midwife and hospital are also very aware of the situation and the emotional stress I have been going through. So we will definitely be utilizing this in case she tries to sue us or call Child Protective Services CPS. Also, due to the virus, only my partner is allowed to be with me during the birth anyway. We will be keeping things quiet until after we move. We would have moved months ago if it was financially possible for us. We also spent a lot of money on my birth center here that is non-refundable. She's due in August and our lease ends in September. We already have everything set up to move, and our other family is helping us out. Just a waiting game at this point. My partner is my attorney. In fact, if something happens to me during the birth, we are currently in a state that is against grandparents' rights. The only way she would be able to sue for visitation is if both myself and my partner were deceased. Even after we move, she still cannot file for grandparent visitation if she is living in this state.
Before I talk about today's posts, please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Today, we have some wild stories from Reddit. First up, we have a tale of corporate nepotism gone wrong. This IT manager was basically forced out by a clueless CFO who hired her unqualified nephew to replace him. The best part? When the nephew messed everything up, they tried to blackmail the original IT guy into fixing it. Talk about a power move. Changing that admin password was genius. And then there's the story of a mom turning her guest room into a nursery after being told she won't meet her grandchild. I mean, who does that? It's like she's planning to kidnap the baby or something. The sheer audacity is mind-blowing. I can only imagine how stressful this must be for the OP. If you've ever dealt with entitled family members or crazy coworkers, comment below and let me know your thoughts on these stories. And don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed today's video. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Voiced. If you enjoyed daily high-quality stories, please like and subscribe to show your support.